Hello and welcome to Behind the Chat. Thank you very much for joining us today. Over the next 30 minutes, we're going to give you a sneak peek, a look behind the scenes at our work with Breast Cancer Now on the chat. And by way of introduction, BNB, if you don't know already, is a strategic and creative agency. We're based near Bankside and been going for about 18 years. Breast Cancer Now, one of the UK's leading breast cancer research and support charities. And here to join me for the discussion today, I'd like to introduce you to Matt Lever. Matt's our Chief Creative Officer at BNB, and Bianca Eglinton, Creative Director at BNB, both responsible for the creation of the campaign. Also delighted to have with us today Deanne Gardner. So Deanne runs marketing and communications at the charity. And we're also thrilled to be joined today by one of the co-stars of the work, BAFTA award-winning actress and producer, Reiki Ayola. And we're going to start, before we kick off the discussion, with a quick film to reprise the idea.
In the UK, one woman is diagnosed with breast cancer every 10 minutes. Despite this alarming fact, people struggle to talk openly about the disease. To get the UK talking, charity Breast Cancer Now launched The Chat, the UK's first WhatsApp drama series. An audience of influencers, celebrities and members of the public were invited to join a WhatsApp group between four best friends. Through a combination of messages, pictures, voice notes and videos, viewers were immersed in the drama.
I just had a full-blown row with John.
As intimate conversations played out in real time over 6 weeks.
Oh, I love you all. And we'll catch up later, right? No, look, can we see each other tomorrow, please?
Making the audience feel like part of the friendship group as they navigated life's ups and downs.
This is not a message I ever expected to leave, and I'm sorry, I just couldn't say it to your faces. Right, so look, basically, I have breast cancer. I am terrified about what might happen to me and how I might not be there for my boys.
How are you feeling? And look, if you don't want to get back to us, please don't. You don't have to. But I just wanted you to know that we're all thinking about you.
I just don't feel like me. I just feel like the part of me is missing.
The Chat's innovative approach to storytelling featured over 1,250 pieces of relatable content that was shared by influencers and celebrities with incredible results.
The Chat, a unique awareness campaign.
The Breast Cancer Now series called The Chat.
This is something that needs to be spoken about.
The Chat got the country talking more openly and made thousands of women realise they don't have to face breast cancer alone.
So maybe I can just start with you, Deanne, and ask you the first question around where did this all start? So tell us a bit about what you were trying to achieve and really what the brief for this work was.
Yeah. Well, we work very, very closely with our partners, BNB, and it's very simply, we need in our strategy to grow awareness of our brand and to engage key audiences specifically around what we do and why we exist. And we're on a journey of growing awareness of our brand because currently it's very quite limited. And that's mainly because Breast Cancer Now is a result of 2 mergers in the last year. And we've worked very closely with BNB and the team at BNB to make sure that we're developing our brand personality and working to a brand that's incredibly authentic. And we're positioning a lot of our work around telling breast cancer as it really is. And we're willing to take on challenges and do things differently. It not only applies to our core scientific and support work, but it also applies to the way we do things, particularly in our marketing. So the Chat ticked a lot of boxes for us because it was new, it was innovative, and it allowed us to get out our messages in a particularly innovative way.
What's interesting, I mean, when you think about an idea like a WhatsApp drama, it's not a typical idea for an agency to present. So Matt, I mean, tell me a bit about how do you get to an idea like that? How do you land on that kind of thing, given the brief that Deanne has outlined?
We're thinking about how we communicate in real life, people of all ages. Now we are glued to our phones, and our WhatsApp chats are the places where we sometimes bare our souls to our groups of friends. We say things we wouldn't necessarily say in a room, and we really lay ourselves bare. And the idea that actually, if you were in a friendship group in real life on WhatsApp and something significant happened to you, like a breast cancer diagnosis, that would be the place where you would likely be open and honest and want to talk about how you were feeling. So taking that concept and that truth about how people behave now in 2023 with a phone in their hand and using it as a narrative base for this campaign was kind of where the idea kind of originated.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and again, maybe you've touched on this in your answer, but again, the notion of a WhatsApp drama is not a conventional TV ad. It's not something one has heard of before. Matt, Bianca, tell me a bit about specifically around WhatsApp and what was so powerful about that.
I think the thing with WhatsApp is, as Matt was saying, it's where all your most honest conversations happen. I think also when we first talked about this idea, we talked about there's been quite a lot of kind of viral voice notes almost. It's sort of the new method of storytelling. There was one quite recently that I won't talk about the details of, but if you know, you know. But basically, it seems to be a more innovative way of storytelling, a way that we could kind of explore a very emotive story, a very personal story, really get into the depths of not just what happens to the person, to the patient when they're diagnosed with breast cancer, but also the way their friendship group reacts, the way that they talk to their partners, the way that they talk to their children. You know, there was a lot of kind of opportunity for storytelling over a course of 6 weeks, which didn't provide didn't need a lot of media spend, didn't need a broadcast channel. It just needed a WhatsApp group. And that was kind of a really nice way of telling a very detailed story in a space that feels very natural and authentic.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love again, back to his point around telling the stories, it really is. You get that incredible range of emotions across this kind of format, don't you? The kind of sometimes the harrowing points, the silly comments that you make amongst friends, the whimsy, all of those emotions together. And Reiki, when you turning to you, when you get this appears in front of you as an idea, why would you be attracted to doing that yourself? What's appealing about doing something like this?
Oh, that was a no-brainer, really. That like a lot of people, I know people living with breast cancer or people who have died from breast cancer, and I have a daughter who has neurofibromatosis type 1, so she's at higher risk of developing breast cancer. So as a thing to get involved with, it didn't take much to say yes, but it was only after saying yes that I realized I didn't exactly know what I'd said yes to, is the truth. I knew it was a drama. I hadn't really thought about how it was going to work. And when the four of us got together, we all sort of whispered to each other, are we meant to send these messages out? Is that... I honestly thought that I would be sending the messages from my phone. I hadn't quite grasped it, but neither had the other three. So we were kind of relieved to know that we didn't have to get involved in the technology of it at all. But it was... and it was something very, very different and very poignant and necessary. So it was easy to say yes to.
Oh, thank you. It was a fabulous performance. And on that, how do you, obviously when you're thinking about, you're preparing for something like this, and it is all different types of media folded up into a group messaging chat. How do you prepare for that kind of thing if you're from a performance perspective?
Do you know, it's kind of, I suppose it's what I do, so it's hard to explain how it happens, but I think certainly from the point of view of people maybe doing something similar in the future, it is worth remembering that there are several hours of prep for the actors involved. And I think it's worth bearing that in mind, that it's not, I mean, a day filming all that stuff was a big ask, and it's extraordinary that we managed it in the way we did. But before that, there are hours and hours of preparation work to do. And so I think it's worth bearing that in mind when making the offer to your actors. And I also think it's worth understanding that you need actors that can rise to that challenge, because most of the work is sort of done at home in your bedroom, so that you can then turn up on the day and just do it. And you need a certain level of experience to be able to do that in the time that you have, because it was a big ask. And I don't mind telling you that on the morning of the shoot, I completely lost my nerve and thought, what have I said yes to? I can't do all this in a day. And almost didn't come in. I mean, I did eventually, but I had a real wobble about the enormity of the task.
Well, I'm glad you held your nerve, because it was a fantastic performance, and thank you. And probably it's quite a good segue actually into the question of how complex and logistically complex this was to create. And Matt, we were talking before, like there are over 1,000 different pieces of content. I think the original script was 100 pages. I mean, this is, in an agency-client relationship, this is quite unusual, right? So tell us a bit about that, Matt, from your side.
Yeah, so 130-page script and 1,293 individual pieces of content that went from voice notes to still photography to video and beyond, emojis that told the story, everything you would see in a normal WhatsApp chat, all choreographed over 6 weeks. And obviously, as Reiki touched upon, you know, a short, given that Breast Cancer Now are a charity, short window of shooting, you know, a day, and with a little bit of pickup afterwards, but not very much, to capture all of that content. But then the craziness really began, because the actual delivery and the actual rolling out of the campaign for it to work chronologically as a WhatsApp story was, I mean, I've never experienced anything like it. And it wasn't as you'd expect there to be some kind of technology that could have just done this, but in truth, it was 4 mobile phones manned by our creative team, Andy and Katie, a very, very complex rollout schedule, with each phone representing one of the 4 characters. And over the course of up to 14 hours a day for 6 weeks, every day, messages being sent in the exact sequence from each of the characters to avoid any kind of mistakes. So an enormous kind of logistical production undertaking that was really powered by a group of people. It wasn't powered by tech, it wasn't powered by AI, it was powered by some thumbs and a load of kind of effort and ambition. So a massive undertaking, but hopefully the end result kind of bears witness to it being super worth it.
Yeah, and Deanne, when you see something of that level of complexity, both in terms of the content, its ambition, and also the amount of stuff that, you know, potentially you need to have eyes over, like, what do you what goes through your head, and how do you deal with that within your organization?
I guess we all just jump on it, Jason, and work together as a very, very close team, because one of the things that this offered to us to do is not just tell the authentic story of a group of people, most specifically Reiki playing somebody diagnosed with the disease, that authentic story of what it feels like, and so what we were able to do was work with our nursing team, work with we did focus groups, and we did quite a lot of market research to make sure that people got the idea, understood it, it was appropriate, etc. And then one of the things from our side was the fact this allowed us to really talk about what we do in a very clever, almost promotional way, because the voices of the people involved in the script were coming across things on our website, they came across us, etc. And it was done in a very believable way, so it didn't look like Breast Cancer Now we're trying to run some massive campaign about promoting what we do. And very cleverly, the writers of the script are able to bring in issues such as dealing with the diagnosis, telling friends and family, you know, what surgery involves, what it's like after surgery, sex and intimacy after treatments, chemotherapy, hair loss, reconstruction, anxiety, and the list goes on. And these are the most common things as a charity we get asked by patients. So we were able to use that total authenticity of presenting what we do in a way that was utterly engaging and highly, highly emotional.
Yeah.
I was at the filming, and Reiki, I remember watching you sitting on the stairs crying about your diagnosis, and we were all crying with you. And I'm sad to say, you know, working at breast cancer now, we see that all the time.
And we were having a conversation previously around, like, sometimes the act of doing something so ambitious and difficult is part of what makes it brilliant. So we were saying that often you can have, Matt, maybe you've got a comment, you can often have ideas like this. It's the ability to do it, and the endeavour that it takes to do it, and the commitment in the organisation, in the agency, with the group of actors. That's kind of what makes it so special in some ways.
Yeah, you have to have both the client and the agency team to be completely aligned, and if the ambition isn't shared, you couldn't achieve it. So we were really lucky to have Deanne and the team and the ambition to be able to get such an amazing cast to kind of perform it. So yeah, I think you're bang on. I think ambition and a joined up partnership between agency and client makes it.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're really lucky as well that Deanne and the team at Breast Cancer Now really put their trust in us with this. And, you know, as Reiki said, it was a huge undertaking for everyone involved, and to capture all the content on one day of filming, you know, we had multiple members of the agency and people from Breast Cancer Now in different rooms overseeing different bits of the shoot. There was no kind of, you know, video village and monitor setup. It was kind of very much done on the fly, and it was really lovely just to be able to have Breast Cancer Now's faith in us to capture everything we needed, and to collaborate with them and work together and get everything we needed so that we could kind of pull this off.
Right. Maybe if I could move on to the sort of how the campaign then worked and was shared, because we saw from the film just how amazing the impact has been. But maybe again, just to start with you, Deanne, like when you're thinking about the PR plan on this and how you create that ripple effect that we saw so much on the content. Tell us a bit about how you approach that, and PR in particular, and how we got the extra noise from the campaign.
Sure. Yes, exactly, Matt. Exactly, Jason. We were it's quite simple, really. We just needed to get eyeballs on this campaign. And, you know, we had a target market of people between 45 and 69. So we worked with a PR agency to make sure that we were talking to the kind of media that age group would be watching. And so we secured some amazing PR from it, you know, like pieces on ITV News, BBC Radio News, you know, Women's Hour, Good Morning Britain. I mean, these are big broadcast stuff. I mean, we really wanted to be on the sofas. We really wanted to get talked about. And we also did include some paid media in this. Not a great deal, because I say we don't have huge budgets. But because the series went on for 6 weeks, we wanted to have that big burst at the beginning and make that big noise, and then keep it going slowly but steadily, you know, through paid media. So we used paid social, digital display, paid search, but we also experimented with sponsorship of podcasts as well. And all these worked really, really well for us and really helped us. And I guess, you know, like sort of one of the great things about it, that this campaign over that time was seen 35.7 million times, and it created the highest brand awareness for us in 2 years. So we were really delighted with what this did for us. But it was a very, very simple strategy. Just get eyeballs on it. Just get eyeballs on our campaign.
Yeah, and it's a calculated risk, right? Because you don't always know how these things are going to go. But I love the ambition of it, and as you say, the worst risk is that it isn't seen, and so one question also was around what made it so well shared. So why was it so successful? And we were talking a bit more about this combination earlier, about the combination of a great human story, or stories, and a really innovative format. Maybe for Bianca and Matt, just around like what was the thing that propelled this so much from a creative perspective?
I think it's an interesting question, because I think it's difficult to predict how something's going to perform before it happens. So like you said, there was always the risk that it wouldn't resonate with people. But I think because of using this platform in a way that hadn't been used before in the UK to tell a kind of drama story that also is based in reality and was actually, inspired by the real experiences of multiple women who had been diagnosed with breast cancer. I think it just managed to hit a level of innovation, but also relatability. So it doesn't feel innovative in a way that's kind of a bit unreachable or a bit difficult to understand. It was using something that we all use every day. We're all in WhatsApp groups. We're all familiar with that. So it kind of tapped into, being relatable, but also being new and fresh and different in a way that kind of people could understand and get on board with. And I think, we talked about how actually the beauty of it is that whilst there's all of this very rich and very, varied content was there within the WhatsApp group, it kind of didn't matter if people actually read everything and listened to every voice note. And you kind of got the gist of it just from understanding this is a drama that unfolds in a WhatsApp group, and just from seeing that beautiful case study film or the trailer, or kind of getting to grips with, we're telling a story, a very kind of real story of a diagnosis and a story of female friendship within this format. And I think even if you didn't engage entirely with the whole campaign, understanding that got the message out there, got Breast Cancer Now's name out there, and kind of did what we needed it to do. So yeah.
I think we were lucky because we were able to our Kinsale TV producer managed to secure Reiki and the rest of this amazing cast, and our director Mary Sue, who did the job for nothing. We had those moments like Reiki on the stairs that we saw earlier in the case study film, those really telegraphed, amazingly performed moments that acted as kind of brilliantly shareable content. So when people within the WhatsApp group shared it it kind of reached so many people. So, for example, Harry Styles' mum was in the WhatsApp group, and she shared it onto her 6 million followers. And we had those brilliant highlight moments because the content was so strong. It had a life of its own beyond the WhatsApp group, like you say, because I think the danger, you might go, it feels like a niche media, WhatsApp, but that wasn't the point. The point was that the innovation and the narrative were compelling enough that it was spread far beyond that. And that's why it was so great that Deanne and the team understood that really quickly. And we had our PR partners in W, and we were able to, back ourselves and let it get out there. And it did, thankfully.
And Reiki, just to build on that, what reaction did you among the performers and what wider community, acting community? How have you seen the reaction to the work?
The reaction's been amazing. And I mean, the first thing I have to say is that there were a few people. I mean, I think I can name 8 people who thought it was my story. So that was concerning. They sort of somebody actually messaged me. She was still crying, although she'd realised it wasn't my story. But she'd started crying and then rang me to say, "I've just had such a shock." I think she was a bit angry with me, actually. So then I went back to the MB and said, "Look, we just need to be careful because the trailer was so powerful. I think anybody that knew me just thought it was me because it's WhatsApp, and WhatsApp is always real. WhatsApp is never fiction. So it was really powerful, which in one way is great, but for a small group of my friends wasn't so great, and family. So then I put out a thing saying, this is a story I'm telling, and when we got beyond that, people were really gripped by it and fascinated by, as has been said, just the idea that something that people use every day, that is just one friend to another, one family member to another, you could suddenly get involved in these people, in the lives of these people that you didn't know, in a way that sort of meant that you did know them, which really, really, really worked. I'm a member of a WhatsApp group that has 323 people in the performing arts on it. I mean, it's the most ridiculous WhatsApp group. But can you imagine what it was like for all those people to tune into this story? So I did have to put out very quickly, it's based on the lives of real people, but it's not my life. So be concerned for them, but I'm okay.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And I maybe just want to come back to Deanne on back to this question around the extraordinary impact of this, and part of that obviously is its amazing authenticity, and the medium is part of that, and the performance is a part of that. But go back to the internal aspect of this within Breast Cancer Now. And we talked about getting on the sofas, and we did, and we got this amazing coverage across national TV and radio. But what about the people who were on the front line dealing with the issue and with people? How did they get behind it? Tell us a bit about that, Deanne.
Yeah, we our staff actually are one of our most important stakeholders, and we work really hard at our internal communications at Breast Cancer Now. So particularly around the work that we're doing on our brand, which is new for us as a charity. And so we carefully explain whenever we're doing a campaign, what we're doing, why we're doing it, and we really get the buy-in of staff to it, because many of our teams are public facing, and so their buy-in and understanding of the work is crucial, because they end up being one of the best advocates for the work. And our nursing team, who are amazing, they were talking to people on the helpline, telling them to watch it. They were getting amazing feedback on the helpline as well about it. And so one of the things we did do as well was keep our trustees very informed. Our trustees, obviously the governance of the charity, and they hold the purse strings. And our chair of the trustees so loved this idea when I presented it to it. So we've got the real high echelons of the charity really engaged to it, down to people on the coalface. And just before we launched the chat, we did what we call one of our all-staff briefings, which it's a session rather like this, but it's the whole organisation, and we present to them, and me and my team were presenting. And when you're presenting on Teams, the Teams chat comes up. People were commenting in the chat, saying things like lots of hearts going off, and lots of "this is truly amazing, this is so real." And to Reiki's point, when she was saying people thought it was her story, they're going, "Oh my God," because Reiki is much loved in the organisation. That's not Reiki, is it? Is she okay? Sort of. So that was tremendously moving to see how really engaged our staff were. And I noted down one of the comments that was made in the chat by one of the team that said, "This is brilliant. It makes me really proud to work for Breast Cancer Now." So it's like, what better engagement is there in that? And what better way to build advocacy for these fantastic ideas?
Right. And it also struck me, maybe a question for Matt on this, that the simplicity of the headline, the idea is the UK's first group messaging drama, with all the richness underneath it, but the simple, almost like the PR hook early on, was part of what makes this actually quite PRable, number one, but also something that people can really repeat internally. Matt, I don't know if you got a thought on that.
Yeah, I think it's really useful because, to Deanne's point earlier on about maybe if you can't outspend, you can try to outsmart your competitors. I think that kind of hooky, PRable, one-line, lateral, interesting, creative idea is so valuable, because you can punch above your weight creatively and media-wise so much if you've got something that, it has to be executed brilliantly, it has to be compelling, and it has to be well written, it has to be brilliantly performed. But if there's something that you know, if you could imagine it on page 7 of the newspaper as a headline, what a great and simple way to understand what is essentially a very complicated campaign, really, in its execution. But yeah, I think having that thing, it is very much strong storytelling times a hooky, first, innovative, never been done before thing. I think those two coming together, they seem, well, as the chat's proven, they seem to be routes to fame for a brand and fame for a creative idea.
Yeah, right. And I suppose sort of starting to wrap things up, I think I suppose one question for you, Deanne, would be looking forward now and thinking about what next? What does this mean for marketing per se? Now you've done this campaign and seen the impact. What's the learning from this for you guys, and as you move forward?
Well, one of the learnings for us, it creates standout for us. You know, like we do our obviously very traditional marketing, which works incredibly well. But one of the things for us in being in a very crowded charity sector, we do need to get that standout, and we do need to, what are we going to be known for? And these are the kind of things that in our marketing that we really want to do more of. And we're working very closely with Matt, Bianca and their teams on loads of different ideas. But thinking specifically from the chat, one of the most common questions I get from staff and people that we work very closely with is, when are you going to do series 2 of the chat? Do you know? And I don't know when we're going to do series 2 of the chat, but it's one of the things that it shows me just how engaged people were with it, and that how we can make some noise and get known for doing these pieces of work that are a surprise and a delight, but also authentic and challenging, because we are prepared to take on challenging issues and talk about them, going back to where we came from, showing breast cancer as it really is, because it still is. It's still taking the lives of 1,000 women every month.
And maybe a question first for Matt and Bianca, and then for Reiki. If you sort of look back on this now with a bit of time having passed, like what's the most memorable moment of doing this, and what would you take forward? Maybe I'll ask Bianca, Matt first, Reiki after.
I think I think the table read that we did together will stick in my mind. So before we were quite at the early stages of this process, we sat around a table and Matt, our creative team, Andy, Katie and I played the characters of each of the members of the chat with varying results, just to kind of get us all get us all understanding how the script was unfolding, how the story was unfolding, and you know, it was fun. It felt like we were in a writer's room.
Yeah, it was actually really useful, because we had people from the nursing team in the room at the same time at BCN, so we were able to make live edits and change the script up and all that sort of stuff, kind of like you would in a broadcast drama if something wasn't landing or didn't feel right. But there's something slightly strange about 4 people from our agency trying to act out 130 pages of heavy dialogue, voicing laughing emoji. But yeah, that was a real standout for me. It was that, but also just watching the delivery, watching Andy and Katie, our creative team, watching them for 14 hours a day with their 4 phones and their notes, and the effort that people went through to get this idea out into the world. I think the one thing I've learned is that if you do want to do something that lands extraordinarily, and you do want to do something that cuts through, you have to be prepared to go all in on it. And it's the campaigns that get that level of love that tend to really perform. And, you know, at the time it feels really difficult, but afterwards you forget all that, and you can kind of enjoy having made something meaningful.
Yeah, completely. And Deanne, you get, I think we unfortunately have lost Reiki's connection, but I'm going to last word from you really, Deanne, on the thing that you'll carry with you from the
I think most thing I'll carry with me is, I mean, obviously we exist for our beneficiaries at breast cancer. Now that's people diagnosed and living with the disease, and everything we do has them in mind, and everything that we want to do will help them make their lives better, help them understand what they're experiencing, etc. And one of the main things for me was watching the response to the campaign as it was playing out, particularly on social media, the responses that were coming through there. And one of them I noted down was, somebody said, I recently found a lump, now waiting on surgery. I sat and watched the whole episode of the chat. It gave me reassurance and strength to take support from friends and family. So it not only was brilliant and innovative, it absolutely meant something to patients. And that is the most important thing for us. And for me, those were the comments that I thought, wow, we're making a difference.
Right. And I think that feels like a great note to conclude on. And I think sadly we are out of time now. So maybe to conclude, thank you everyone for joining today. It's great to chat about the chat. And I guess a couple of those, if you'd like to follow up more about Breast Cancer Now's work, you can visit www.breastcancernow.org. Or if you have any questions about bringing the campaign to life, please feel free to get in touch with us at BMB. And the email address is hello@bmbagency.com. We'll be sending a quick follow-up and a summary of everything discussed today, so keep an eye out for that. And in the meantime, have a great rest of your day. Thank you for joining.